And we didn't specify what kind of mushrooms. We didn't specify what kind of experience. We didn't specify where. We didn't specify that the words that we're speaking are English. This could be a different language with the mouth sounds having a completely different meaning than what the law is currently interpreting it as. So we're legally sound. I want to go sell Medicare to old people right now. Happy to Easter, all you crazy mummies in Mumland.
Happy Easter episode. I'm going to take this in, soak it in, and enjoy it because I need to take this stupid thing off of my mouth so that I don't drive my audio listeners crazy. But this is the Easter episode, in case you couldn't tell. Be funny if we were like, you know what? Let's use that one in May for no reason. Oh, and now I can't put it back on because I'll tell you one thing about these cheap bunny suits is the nose string will pop right off. Easy peasy.
Same with my masks. Every type of mask I've gotten, and I don't even have a big snoz or a big Freddie Mercury overbite or anything. I've got a pretty regular sized facial features over here, but still it pops out all the time when I use masks.
I love your whiskers.
Thank you.
I have to say, I was like, I had my hopes up a little bit that maybe you're gonna paint on whiskers. Like in my wildest dreams, it was actually painting on a little bunny.
I was going to, but I couldn't. Catherine was at the beach, and I didn't know what makeup she had, and I could have used not permanent marker for it. But then these little pipe cleaner, like not even real pipe cleaners, like elementary school crafts pipe cleaners were in our art. Yeah, I made the whiskers, and I even rolled them into a nose for myself. The ears are from the DS, of course.
Of course, yeah. Dollar store. Yeah, I was gonna get I went into the party store yesterday just before it was closing. Guy snuck me in last minute because he's like, what are you looking for? I'm like, I want to be some sort of bunny or something. And
they just immediately call the cops.
He pointed me to, then it was by the register. It was just nothing but those ears. And then
these ones are you one you're wearing right now?
And I was like, yeah, that'll work, but what else do you have? and then when I saw this, I mean, it looks like it looks like classically better on the box. Sure, like you take it out, but for our purposes, this is better
of course
than the pristine bunny outfit that you see on the box. Because for the show, you don't want the Big Mac to look like the picture on the thing. No. You want it to be the sloppy, what the hell is
for our show? 100%, yes. And I'd love to up our game over the years. Like one day I would like to show up in a full like $1,000 sports mascot suit. I used to be that for this show with Martha Kelly and Andy Ritchie, rest in peace. They used to do a show at Cap City in Austin called In the Can. And I would play this mouse called Gregory. And I had a full mouse costume, like professional NFL grade with the big giant head and the eyes that were one-way mirrors. It was a good time.
Wow. Amazing.
And no one came to the show. It was like in the big room and it was like a fifth full, which made it even better.
Yeah, I love. Oh, you want to hear this? So here's an exciting potential drop. We have a potential dump for the festival. I don't like making Ramin nervous with my surprises anymore.
I'm used to it now. Now I'm just embracing it.
This is a safe one. But so here's what happened. You know, Mindy, I never
Mindy Tucker, Mindy Kaling.
Yep, Mindy Tucker on our one of our Patreon people.
Mindy Tucker is one of our Patreons?
No. Mindy, one of our Patreon. What's her Instagram? It unfortunately rabbits can't type.
Okay, someone named Mindy. Are you sure it's Mindy, not Mandy? A mandolin? Mando?
I think it's Mindy.
Okay. Either way, you're Mindy for this episode. Deal with it.
Yeah.
2 Easter bunnies told you. It's bad luck to disobey 2 Easter bunnies.
Yeah. If people trust my ability to get a name right at this point, like they haven't been listening to the show. But someone in the ballpark of a Mindy, pretty sure it's Mindy because she comes to game night, is a great artist. And she's on Discord. And it turns out that you want to drop the name of the retreat place today since we throw a little, or should we make them go to Discord to check it out still?
Maybe one word of it and then the rest you can get at Discord. Say the first word.
It's a place in Raleigh, North Carolina. Just go to the Discord. Part. You can find it. Yeah, we did. It's just go to Discord. We're keeping it secret for one more show for whatever reason. We don't know why. Just to get you to go to Discord. So we're on Discord, and the person who will soon be revealed whose retreat place it is and also does festival. The reason we're able to make our Mind Under Fest work is because we have this amazing deal, and we dropped a bunch of photos, and it has outhouses there. We're also getting porta potties and stuff, to accommodate more people. But it has outhouses there, it has pictures of that, and we put a bunch of pictures of just everything in the whole space on Discord. And Mindy is like, I think those are the outhouses. The conversation went something like this. She goes, I think those are the outhouses that a company that I work for makes. And I should see if they'll send an outhouse down there that we can decorate and have like a our own outhouse.
Wow!
At the MUMfest grounds.
Is it plastic?
That we all get to paint. No, wood.
Wood, like with a moon door, and we can make our own engraving on it.
Yeah.
Cool.
So there's some talk of that. No matter what, we're at least going to get a plastic outhouse to paint. We've already all decided on that. That's very doable. That's within the budget. Otherwise, I've failed as a festival producer.
Yeah, and please don't paint the inside of it, everyone, if you know what I'm talking about. Keep those bowel movements in.
And I was like, oh man, that's amazing. We're gonna have a whole like ribbon cutting ceremony and everything, and decide who has I was like, oh man, it's gonna require. I'm gonna have to like really get in the right mental place to have a whole festival of people cheering me on to break that seal, and then there's talk of drum circles happening and everything.
Beautiful.
Else. We've been having fun coming up with ideas for our muff on Discord. And so maybe something outhousey is going to happen. But I already got a hold of someone at Duke, past guest of mine, who's going to be doing a live Here We Are and talking about the kind of evolution of festivals and things like that. And depending on how many people show up, which will release tickets ahead, go to mindunderpod.com to sign up for the email so we can get a sense of how many people are interested, because that will determine. Basically, I have a lead on a whole bunch of science authors from Duke that could potentially come and have like a little book fair area.
Cool.
Like by the art area and stuff too. So if there's a bunch of people, then we can just have throughout the day, like, hey, if you go over here, someone will talk about their book for 30 minutes and you can ask questions or whatever. And then it's just on the schedule and you can pop in and see one that you're interested in and one that you're not. That's if there's enough people where there's like, it makes sense to have multiple activities going on and stuff.
I was thinking of
just like I was
thinking of being George Washington and doing zero research, but you come by and you press a button and then I speak about the cherry tree and writing the Declaration of Independence for 30 minutes. And if you walk away, I still keep on talking until someone else comes and presses the button.
Well, the trick is it's going to be difficult because we're already doing 2 live Mind Under Matters, because there's the opening ceremony and then a closing ceremony, and then we're each doing one of our own podcasts. We maybe will be doing stand up too, and then we want to meet everyone and hang out with everyone as well. So we're going to be busy boys. Plus, I'm going to be working the kissing booth the whole time. That's going to keep me busy. I looked up festival ideas recently, and kissing booth came up, and I was like, what the fuck century? Can you believe people used to have like, maybe I'm more of a germaphobe than some people or something like that. And if it's like, it's so, we have all of these different subselves and different tribes, because like I'll tongue a butt on a second date if I'm like really into
if it's
somebody.
2015, yeah.
Yeah.
The peak of ass eating season.
Yeah. But the idea of like a line of strangers at a kiss, even a peck, is like, even the French, like kissing everyone on the cheek and everything like that. Really? People did that? You would just line up and like, here's $1.
Yeah.
Give me a smooch.
And you say what century? And the answer is last century, which is basically 20 years ago.
Yeah,
and
20.
I'm sure you've seen that clip of Jim Carrey, not to throw Jim Carrey under the bus in any way, but it is an interesting cultural thing where apparently during some MTV Music Awards thing, he just went up and kissed Alicia Silverstone, like gave a big French kiss with no warning. And she looked a little shaken by it. But at the time, that wasn't seen as, there was no Me Too at the moment. Now that would be seen as like, what did he just do? If they didn't plan that was assault technically. But back then it was like, oh, come on, he's Jim Carrey. It's okay.
You take chances.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey is one of those people when you were talking about recently, like who's gonna make it, is I think a bonus episode we were talking about Greg Giraldo, like who's gonna make it in the minds for like, Richard Pryor's still in our minds, George Carlin's still in our mind. People aren't like sitting around watching the specials, but people take a peek I used to watch every bit of stand-up that I could get my hands on. I loved I remember my first Conan being in a hotel room before it was like airing and having people over. And I remember I was sharing clips of like other comedy and other people's stand-up that I liked and stuff. Like that's how much I loved stand-up. And I forget that because now I was like, I haven't watched stand-up in nearly a decade.
Diminishing returns. I mean, how many things can you observe, or how many things can you be candid about and be vulnerable about? Like eventually you get the patterns. Until then there's people that break the mold, the Weinbach, the Daniel Simonson, the Marias, all those things. Those will still hit you. Or Stanhope's, people that we just love, the top. But then the way we used to watch new stand-up, that's like just, it's never going to be as much.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll change though. Stuff is cyclical.
I mean, I bet you that there's a lot of new people out there that listen obsessively to like Sirius satellite radio, like comedy stations, and just all the like stand up good and bad that they can get, and find the Bill Hicks and all of the lineage of like Sam Kinison and all these things that like I never even cared about that. Like I always just like wanted to watch a bunch of stand up. I never, and then this person did this and then like, whatever. Like who's around now? But it does make you think who's going to stick around. And I think Jim Carrey's going to last for so long with the movies that he's done. People will watch those hundreds of years from now. And
he's a supernova, like him and Robin Williams, the amount of energy that emanates from their being. Yeah. And sometimes it's like, well, they can't help, or at least in the 90s, they couldn't help but be the center of attention. Like they literally couldn't help it. Yeah. They would get up from the late night desk and go to the cameraman and like kiss his ass cheeks and then like go slap the producer and then go sit back down and talk about The Mask or something. Yeah. And Jim Carrey's actually on that new Weekend album. I think it's called Dawn FM, and he does like one track is just a spoken word kind of thing, and it's really cool. So he's even relevant today in the culture, but this time as an old man.
And he was like Adam Sandler's comedy stuff, like didn't continue to stay stay relevant or whatever as much as like there's the classics, but he's gotten into good serious work. But Jim Carrey and Robin Williams were also two that like got into serious roles and fucking nailed it. Robin Williams probably more so, obviously, but Jim Carrey did like Eternal Sunshine and
right.
What's that weird? Did you ever see that weird Showtime show that
Kidding?
He was?
I think it's called Kidding. Yeah, Kidding was great.
It was really good.
Yeah, he's an alternate version of
strange.
Yeah, he's like a Mr. Rogers, like a fictional Mr. Rogers type character with all these puppets and a controlling father and a sister that wishes she was part of the spotlight, but the father was always like, "No, you're meant to be behind the scenes. You're a background, no stage presence type of person." And he struggles with expressing his his non-childlike side. I'm starting to just remember it now. I'd forgotten about that show and whether I'd watched it to completion. I think I did see it to completion, but no, it gets real.
Very weird at the end and stuff too, because it got really like I don't know. Very like artsy, sort of magical, sort of. It got really trippy.
It became like a fever dream sort of a show.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, did you get Peeps, by the way?
Of course I got Peeps.
Terrific. That's all that you got?
Well, it's like 6 Peeps. Isn't that enough?
Maybe.
I thought like I wouldn't be able to get more than 4.
We'll see. We're going to try to do a chubby bunny at the end.
Maybe.
Spoiler alert. But this is going to keep them. You don't know like how many people drop off when, because it's like they've heard all the Easter and rabbit facts and stuff that they need to. And they're like, I'm just too busy catching up on these bonus episodes on Patreon right now, and they forget to come back. So now you gotta tease what the end is going to be.
We should do a trivia contest at the end of the year, and the winner gets some ridiculous prize, but like it'll reward people for having listened to every episode. And if they know all the stuff, then we give them like $5 7-Eleven gift card or something.
Can we give someone a shirt for an Easter egg?
Of course.
Okay. Here's the Easter egg. I have an Easter egg. It's in Psychonautics. First off, there's been a fun trend. I think we're going to make this a highlight clip. There's a fun trend that started during the music episode, which is every time I miss a joke of yours, hopefully, and people catch it, they'll put it on the Discord or something. I hope they start putting it on YouTube and in the comments and whatnot too. But it's fun. But the first one, we're going to make a highlight of this so people can see, was in the Music Discoveries episode.
I was checking out The Police again pretty recently. Like all those guys. Who doesn't love Sting and Stuart Copeland and Andy Summers and Derek Chauvin? How do you not love The Police?
I need to listen to more, to be honest, because they're one of those bands where it's like, I just didn't hear it. I just didn't hear the Derek Chauvin guy who killed George Floyd reference, and then you just go, and I just missed it, and then you just go, who doesn't love the police? And you just see how delighted you are with yourself and knowing damn well that I missed it entirely. And you kept going with the conversation, but you could tell you were giggling a little bit at the time. I must have just been like, I guess Ramin's just a little giggly right now.
Yeah, maybe he thinks the name Stuart Copeland is funny. Stuart Copeland never plays a backbeat, by the way.
Ooh.
Sting and Andy Summers always wanted him to play, like, can you please just play a regular drum beat? And he's like, no. He always has to do something that's like off. It's like a measure off time or something. And that's what gave The Police some of its magic. Might have already said that.
Interesting.
I'm full of facts. Did you know Sting plays bass and lives in $1.5 million? No, more than $1.5 million. What am I talking about?
$1.5 million.
That's
I'd
nothing.
be like, oh no, what happened to Sting?
That outhouse that we're going to get for MUMfest, if it was in the Los Angeles area, it would be $1.5 million.
Yeah,
Just the outhouse, not even the lot that it lives on. Like you have to lug it around on a truck.
So an Easter egg, and I just can't tell you where it is because I'm not going to watch, and I'm not going to make McCool watch to find it. But in the movie Psychonautics, which is free on Amazon, so we did a thing, and I may have talked about it on the show before, but we have a psychedelic episode coming up for Bicycle Day next week, and there's an Easter egg in Psychonautics. So the documentary starts with me looking insane, like shirtless with all this paint and stuff on me.
Blacklight paint.
Smoking, blacklight paint. And it's actually MAOI inhibitor, and it's blah, blah, blah. And I'm smoking DMT, and I look like a lunatic. And that was the plan from the start, was to look that way. And what actually happened, because I was like, oh, I'll look crazy. And then people will watch the thing and actually like see things and be like, oh, that was just a set. We were just like playing around with the idea of this is like what people's idea of what psychedelics will do to you is make you crazy. And then they actually did make me crazy. But that was the original plan before I went crazy. And how that originated was we were doing a thing where we didn't know what we were doing. We had all these interviews, and then I was like, I guess we'll just shoot me tripping like around the country and doing various different, like going and getting my first ketamine, like official treatment and things like that. And one of the things that we started playing around with was the idea of putting like after I got done with the ketamine treatment or whatever, like we would draw a dick on my face. So like I would wake up like, or get out of the trip and there'd be a dick on my face. We were trying to like make a joke about like how stupid alcohol is, basically. Can you imagine if this happened after you were tripping? So in all these different scenarios, in like a float tank and all these, we made sure and put like a dick on my face. And so there was, if you look really closely at that face paint in the opening scene, there's like a big dick in the middle, because that's what we did first. We just drew a huge glow in the dark dick on my face. And then once it was on there, I was like, oh, this is the plan. Let's make me look crazy. And then we actually like painted the face more and everything else. And so anyhow, if you watch Psychonautics and you can find the time code for us and put it in the YouTube comments, and you're the first one to do it, we'll give you a free shirt. So not the glow in the dark paint. There's another time where there's just, it's almost like a Fight Club, like flash frame. But you can see it. You just have to look kind of close. There's a flash frame of me with a dick on my face. We showed it during the last year for Bicycle Day. We did a live screening and had the producer and director and everything come in and comment on it, and we showed it, and people enjoyed it a lot. And so I want to make that a highlight, but I don't want to look for it. So we'll give you a shirt if you find that little Easter egg.
I've seen that film like 2 or 3 times, and I still didn't ever catch that.
Do you know the origin of Easter eggs in like movies and stuff?
Not even close. I was going to say Gone with the Wind. Maybe there's like an extra plantation in the background or something.
I guess in the filming of the Rocky Horror Picture Show or whatever, is that
that's the first Easter egg? That's like from the 90s.
I guess on set they did an actual Easter egg hunt and didn't recover all of the Easter eggs. And so in the actual film, there are actual Easter eggs that you can spot in certain scenes.
Kind of like how the first bug in a computer was a literal bug on the motherboard or something. That's what I remember hearing. I need to go confirm that, but I think it was a literal bug, like messing with the wiring. So yeah, it was literal Easter eggs. What other things are literal from the beginning? Like fire. Fire is called fire because they made a fire and then they called it fire. Edit all that out. Edit everything I've ever said out.
We celebrate Easter, Jesus rising from the dead, because Jesus literally rose from the dead.
And he literally died for your sins. And God literally created you in his image, and women were literally created from your rib. And they literally ate the apple from the literal tree.
Sending us literal snake told it too.
That would be a great new Bible. Like, you know how there's Bible for the teenage chicken soup soul? Like, do the literal Bible and be like, literally, God created the heaven and the earth. Literally on Sunday he rested, and then people are really sold because it's spelling it right out for you. No metaphor.
The literal. Oh man, people are really stuck on that one too. It's weird. It's weird that the funny thing is, because like we talk so much on this show about the importance of beliefs and you know, so much of our beliefs aren't perfect and subjective, and we tell ourselves stories to get up and get motivated and get out of bed in the morning and do this and that and dream and develop a sense of morality and all that. But that's the holding on to them so tightly of like, yeah, but like a guy didn't actually come back from the dead, and like it wasn't a real ghost, didn't come back, and then there was like a wound that someone put their hand, like that didn't actually happen. And it is like sort of important if you're like, hey, we shouldn't be able, people should behave this way because a guy came back from the dead. Like, you know, you got to think of another reason why people need to. You're like, after women have sex, they should hang upside down from the ceiling because a guy came back from the dead. Well, no, you're going to need to think of a different reason why you think women need to hang upside down from the ceiling for like semen or impregnation.
I didn't even know that
something.
One.
No, it's not. I'm just like making up a weird, you know, like, but you can't just like, it matters a little bit. Like we have an issue with with our new studio. There's like running a diagnostic issue. Like, oh, is it this one part or this other part or a graphics card? You can't just go, oh, well, it's probably just like a guy rose from the dead and it's all meant to be. And, so.
Yeah, it's a camera ghost. Camera spirit is still stuck inside of the camera.
But people can, it's so, beliefs are so we were talking about entropy in an interview we did today. We were talking about
with
entropy
CBS,
today.
If we're allowed to say that. Not with just Mark's podcast or something. CBS. No offense, Mark. Love all your podcasts.
Mark, you're great. But we were talking about entropy and just how horrifying it is. But that's physical entropy. Ideas aren't subject to the sort of same entropy. Like belief systems aren't subject to the same. They can just keep growing and expanding and everything else. And you can any belief that you had or you were like, it's actually not. You don't actually need it to it's not the linchpin keeping all the wheels on your drive. It's more like most entropy works, like we're allowed to be here and have this physical form. And it's like a sand castle that we're able to build and sustain. And then eventually it goes back into sand. Ideas and beliefs are like, if you're at a beach and just sand castles are just popping up, forming themselves out of control, and every time you knocked one down, 10 more sand castles just started popping up and forming everywhere. They're not in a limited supply. It is all. So I don't know. It'd
be so much easier if they were like, oh, my first. I mean, that's not a good thing to wish for because maybe some people do have that. It's like, yeah, I get one idea a month. I have what we call neural slow diadelphy. I think in real time, like, how you think 1,000 thoughts a minute, but then you speak one sentence per sentence. I think one sentence per sentence in my head. Imagine thinking as slow as you talk in your head. I could go to the store now, but if I waited, it would be less traffic.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess like it's always just like been a little weird because sometimes I'll talk about evolution to like even friends or whatever that are like religious or whatever else. And sometimes I'll just see someone be like, so what's this all about? Like if it's not that, what's this all about? It's like, it's about like a zillion different things. Don't worry about it. Like you'll come up with 1,000 more things that all of this is about. You couldn't stop your brain from constructing meaning and purpose and blah, blah, blah. And infinite stories.
And not to knock on, I mean, we have to preface all of this with, not to knock on anyone or religion or anything,
right.
But I was so surprised to find friends of mine in their 30s who've abandoned their religion because they traveled for the first time and then realized like, well, I met these Jewish people in Israel. And I thought like, that doesn't make sense that I'm just going to heaven and they don't. Like they were brought up with, but the fact that they didn't learn about it till they're in their 30s. I just wanted to ask like, oh, you're dumb.
I know. I wonder if I got lucky because I had a Muslim friend, which was just unusual. Like I just happened to live a half a block away from the Muslim in my city that happened to be my age. And
damn.
Proximity, and we happened to be, so I was
prayed 5 times a day.
Yeah, like the whole
the outfit. I guess the outfit's not as common.
No,
like with Jews, the yarmulke is kind of like if you're serious about it, the yarmulke is probably present most of the time, depending on how serious. I don't know how granular all this gets.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I think there's a lot of individual differences. It's weird because a lot of Jewish people that I know just like don't believe in any of like the actual God stuff and believe a lot in the actual like rituals still of the thing. That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's very practical. And I love hearing about, you know, the Kabbalah or the Torah, and there's lots of little numerology things or wise statements and wise tales and things like that. And it's very not about a heaven or a hell or a Messiah or even God. Yeah. Like they don't really personify God that much.
Yeah, like Zach Sherwin,
brilliant,
one of like the smartest people I've ever met in my life. In case someone thinks like, oh, I'm calling religious people dumb or something like that. It's all.
I don't think anyone thinks Jews are dumb. I don't think that's a stereotype.
Yeah, that's not a thing, I suppose. Yeah, but it's always weird. So that was. I mean, when you're young, any differences you latch on to anyway. So even though we were like really good friends, it was still like the food their parents cooked and stuff was like, what is this weird stuff? You know, like when you're 6, you know, just everything seems strange and like, that's different. It's funny because it's everything is weird. Everything is strange. It's just that you don't see it in your own things. Like, of course, every other religion looks ridiculous or whatever. Like, look at us right now. Like, out of context, any other culture or whatever that's never heard of Easter, like, look at me. And, like, people are watching this like, that's just the boys again. And someone else will be like, what? This is, and they do this for entertainment. They dress up like this. But it's, of course, it all looks. It's just like, I guess it's just the judgment that comes along with it, or not realizing that your particular like traditions and stuff are just as ridiculous or bonkers to someone outside. It's just the human experience is a ridiculous thing to be a part of. And it just sometimes takes seeing like a different culture or outsider or something like that, or a different way of living or being to realize how peculiar existence is. But some people just are like, well, I guess they're weird.
Yeah.
Which is when the real trouble starts.
Have you looked into why it's, because how did eggs and a rabbit, because rabbits don't even lay eggs. There's eggs fertility. Or rabbit, and then there's the savior dying and resurrecting.
Spring and fertility stuff. I think so. I didn't do a deep dive into the history of Easter because
this is a pagan hijacking again, like with Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Like, this old fucking rigmarole.
We'll take that too. What you got? Colorful eggs and bunnies sounds good. Can you throw some? Yeah. Can you throw some plastic hay in there too? What do you call it? I think it's just called Easter hay.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder. What? Because bunnies like hay a lot. That's rabbits. Rabbits eat. If you have a pet rabbit, don't feed it carrots often. Anyway,
why not? Its vision gets too good sugar. And it takes over. I see you. I see your soul. It knows too much.
I had a pet bunny as the first pet that I had. It fell into this thing in our house. It was like it used to. I live in a house that used to, all of the heat used to be wood from a fireplace.
That's cool.
And there was like,
except for living it, but hearing about it is cool.
It was so cold, and so you would. It was like a shortcut to dump wood into the basement, and a rabbit got into this little chute thing, and a little bunny, and my dad built some sort of cage for it to be outside, and
despite all its rage,
it was filled with rage. It was. I remember.
Don't they have red eyes too? Am I making that up? But bunnies sometimes have red eyes.
Oh, I think you might be right there. At first, when you said it, I'm like, what? Come on now. And now I'm like, hey, yeah, you might be right. I was so young when this happened, and I haven't taken a look at rabbits in a while, but because humans domesticated rabbits for a lot of things. They domesticate them for agriculture and stuff, and then because you can eat them and they reproduce like crazy. The what?
Oh, I said, do they use them as lawnmowers?
Oh, that's interesting. I think they actually don't eat a lot of grass. I think they eat, but yeah, they're cheap to feed. They're herbivores, so they don't. They just process a bunch of energy from crap we can't eat, and then you can eat the rabbit.
Stew,
everyone, even golems like rabbits is. And yeah, they have these 180-degree ears, or they can spin independently in 180 degrees because they're just like little satellites for hearing. Cool. And their eyes too see like about 180, so they have panoramic vision because everything's trying to eat rabbits, just everything, because they reproduce so fast, and so there's hawks and cats and like all sorts of like weasels and just anything, foxes and stuff, just anything.
Is that some Red Queen effect going on because they're so highly, prey targets or predator targets that they have to reproduce fast and a lot because we don't know how long we're going to be here.
Yeah.
And they're so wholesome too. They occupy both their naughty world and the wholesome world.
The naughty world?
Like just that they're getting it on like rabbits.
Oh,
and when you think of that, it's like rabbits are very wholesome, but also it's the Playboy logo, which it just occurred to me that is maybe that's why, because his rabbits reproduce a lot. Maybe that's why.
Ah.
And they wear ears like this, sense. Or at least they used to. I don't even know if there's still a Playboy mansion. It's probably just a content house now.
Yeah.
It's a TikTok house that makes nothing to do with that. Or maybe they still put out magazines. Who knows?
Hugh Hefner he was like in his 90s, and Playmates would just take turns just plopping down on his old fucking boner, the next one, dust. And then the next one.
And I heard that he would do that while watching videos of him. Like there'd be all these screens around and videos of old sexual experiences playing on it. So he's just in like this, when Neo sees the architect in Matrix and he sees like all those other versions of himself, like he just did that in real life. What a psycho. But gotta appreciate someone that knows what they want, I guess. But he just missed. He just like people loved him, and I'm sure he wasn't maybe not the worst guy, but certainly not the best guy either. But he just missed the wave of when he would be clearly not acceptable today's standards.
So they're incredibly they have I think who brought them, so they started in Spain, and then merchants tried to like introduce them somewhere else, and they proliferate so quickly. So a female females and males become fertile within 3 months
of being existing.
Alive,
oh wow!
Of existing.
Wow.
And then gestation period is 1. So if you're a female rabbit and you're born, within 3 months you can get pregnant, and then you got about a month of gestation, and then I guess the moment after they give birth, or like within days, they can get pregnant again, which doesn't make that must be like in ideal, like conditions, like if you're feeding them a bunch or something, because usually mammary glands shut down reproduction because it's only so much energy. Like, but I know some species of rabbits during winter time and times of scarcity, they aren't fertile. Like they won't, they'll reserve, like female marathon runners that lose too much body fat can't stop menstruating or stop ovulating.
They can't stop ovulating after they've lost too much weight.
No, they stop ovulating. Oh. Yeah, because their body's like, yeah, we don't have enough. There must not be enough resources out there right now. We'll wait till there is.
I wonder if that's good or bad from their perspective. I don't know if that's a feature or a bug. I have no idea what it feels like to be ovulating. It's like, I kind of miss ovulating.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's a great question.
I did hear that ultra marathon runners are often like the least expecting looking person. It's like often a small woman that looks like just a literature professor or something, not like tall or muscular or anything, just not looking out of shape, but not looking in great shape either. But they can run ultra marathons, and the night before they eat like 2 large meat lovers pizzas and a whole pint of, or not a whole pint, a pitcher of beer sometimes, and they just do it.
Wow. Eddie Izzard.
He's a marathon runner or ultra marathon runner, or she's a marathon. I think she's she now, but yeah,
she now?
Yeah, hard to keep track, but better just use all of them just to be safe.
Yeah, well,
call everyone everything just to be safe, except that works bad too.
I think it's Eddie still, but anyway, regardless, ultra marathon runner, and cool, nice person.
You ever open for Eddie Izzard?
No, because he does one-man shows, but yeah, we've hung out and stuff. I've been to, we had the same manager for a while. He was actually like one of the people I was like, oh, that's when I started doing one-man shows. I was like, oh, there's someone that's having success doing that, even when not all of his stuff was like exactly what I was used to being my cup of tea. It at least pointed me in the, like, I didn't have anyone to look to when I decided that I wanted to do like one-man show type things. And
so naturally funny too. There was some earlier specials I downloaded forever ago in the early internet where half the stuff I didn't even know. I didn't get it. I didn't get the references, but just the cadence and the quickness of all of it. You couldn't help but just love the performance. Kind of also exuded that Robin Williams energy. Like this, and you're like, is any of this even written down? This could have just been come up on the spot. I have no idea.
Yeah. Real talented. And was a street performer first before everything.
Like painting, like silver painting,
like on a unicycle, juggling and stuff like that. Yeah. That's how he started doing crazy street performer stuff, which probably is how he got started being so like loud and wild, and you know, because that's what you needed to be a street performer.
Yeah. And
then started in the fringe festivals and things, I believe. But yeah, rabbits, fucking like rabbits. It's a true, there's certainly reason. So rabbits and eggs have to do with fertility, eggs being the sign of fertility that like pagans, and I'm sure even people before pagans looked for as a sign of fertility and new life. And I guess they started for Easter, they started dyeing them red in like beet juice,
like red velvet cake
for Jesus blood, actually. Less tempting if you ask me, but
then beet juice, get out of here. Give me that JC blood anytime. JHC blood.
So I guess that's where the origin of the dyeing of the eggs came from. But rabbits are so get this, you're a female, so they're having they're having between 1 to 12 in a litter. Average is around like 5 or 6. And so within 3 months, you're fertile. You can get pregnant. Month of gestation, then you can potentially get pregnant again right away. But either it can take, I think it takes about 3 weeks for bunnies to leave the nest. So my guess is that it's usually like not exactly right after in many cases. But they say that that rabbits typically have, like, I'm talking about Peter Cottontail rabbits. There's a lot of rabbits out there, but they all generally are about the same. They started getting domesticated more and more in like the 1950s was when people started having them more as pets and things. And they started selecting for like, let's make cute ones too. Before that, it was just like, what's like a meaty, fat rabbit that we can eat and get. And so they get selected for fur type, and cuteness, and just depends on what our needs were. It's so weird.
Yeah, we love making it into our needs. What's this? Mostly seeds? Let's make it mostly yummy goo stuff and then make the seeds like not that effective, and we'll have to just replant it every time.
And so yeah, there's potentially somewhere between 1 to 7 litters in a year a rabbit can have. And I think an average of like 3 or 4 in a year.
So if they didn't get hunted down, they could like fill up the surface area of the earth in like 2 years.
And they were brought into Australia. Someone's like, Tawasi, we're going to love rabbits here. Tawasi, no worries. And then they just ate that's how many rabbits there were. They just ate all of the vegetation in like the largest country in the world. And like 70 years ago, they developed a virus to spread it, to kill off the rabbits, which they still have like a little bit today, but they've evolved to like live with it and everything. And it killed off like a lot of the population. We almost lost
Imagine
Australia
that being your
to
job.
rabbits.
Like you go to medical school and study biochemistry or something, and then it's like, the last 6 months I've been working on this rabbit virus that's going to kill like 5 billion rabbits, bringing the population down to a cool 4 mil.
Yeah. Now they don't do things like that. They'll trap rabbits and stuff when they get out of control in areas. And you know how they do that?
With a metal cage, with carrots, with fake
determination. No, it's ferrets. Actually, they send determination as well, but they'll put like little nets and stuff up, and then they'll just stick a ferret in a burrow, and ferrets will just weasel around in there and nip at rabbits and herd the rabbits out of their holes. They'll pop out and into a net, and then you just grab them.
What happens to the ferret?
You kill it afterwards.
Oh, did you ever?
No, it's someone that owns and breeds.
Do you remember that
Ferrets.
Simpsons where Bart rescues these eggs, and it turns out to be these lizards that laid their eggs in the bird's nest, and then the lizards come out and eat the pigeons, and then lizards overrun Springfield, and they like that. They're like, hey, we had a pigeon problem. It's good that the lizards came and took over everything. And then Lisa asked, what happens when the town is overrun by lizards? And it's like, no, don't worry, we'll import the snake that feeds on those lizards. What happens when the lizards or the snakes are overpopulating? Oh, well, we have this like silverback gorilla that we can fly in that also feeds on snake meat. What happens when it's filled with gorillas? Like, that's the beauty of it all. When winter rolls around, the gorillas simply freeze to death. And like, it's fun thinking now that, that's totally based in reality. Something very similar to that happened. Like, we'll bring in this thing to get this thing out, and then that'll kill that thing, and that'll kill that thing. And then eventually we'll deal with that last threat later.
Yeah. Now it's they've gotten more and more away from that. they've shifted from like, maybe we shouldn't be spreading viruses around to like, maybe we shouldn't be introducing new species like this to, because now they'll just, like mosquitoes or something, they'll just alter the DNA and make it so that any male that impregnates a female, this male's sperm only makes males, and then those sons.
Never thought of mosquito sperm once in my life.
Males, and so eventually there's just not females to have kids that you can get rid of. You can breed mosquitoes.
Utopia. All football and Xbox.
But then there's bats and things that need to eat mosquitoes, so it's always tricky. But get this, a rabbit. So that's like, so if you're having, say you have 7 litters and you're having like 5 or 6 to a litter, so maybe you're getting like 40 children in a year. But if you think about, you're a female and then 3 months later you're able to get pregnant, a month later you're having kids, but then those kids 3 months later are able to get pregnant and have, from the time that you exist within a year, you could be a grandma. And then from there, it's like in your lifetime, which in the wild, rabbits are living like 1-2 years. And if you have a pet rabbit, you can maybe expect like 7 years out of it, you know? So if it's not getting eaten by something or getting diseases or whatever else, it can keep on cranking stuff out. I think the record's like 15 years. So you could just be like a great, because it'd be like, let's see. So that's like you could have about 4 generations a year for 15 years. That'd be like about 60 generations.
Wow.
That's like almost, and still be alive and have something 60 generations in like really ideal conditions. That's almost, because Jesus was 2,000 years ago.
2022 years ago.
2022. And if humans were like a generation's like 25 years, so that's 440. It's like 80. Jesus was like 80 generations ago. So a rabbit can see like a half of a Jesus worth of generations, like in its of descendants. Like imagine meeting one of your ancestors as like 1,000, that alive like 1,000 years ago. You could just like go and visit. Like, what was it like 1,000?
Yeah. But the difference though is with us, each generation represents a different like technological landscape, cultural landscape, everything landscape. And with rabbits, like not that much is different. 80 generations,
right,
like they still
it's
are
happening so fast.
Yeah, maybe they're in an environment where there's a DVD player instead of a VCR, but they don't care about that.
Mm-hmm.
Must be so weird being animals in the last 50 years. Before everything was kind of the same, but we're really ramping up the changes here.
Oh, yeah.
So like just being an animal, like, okay, you're doing what now? Okay. I thought you already had the screens, but I guess you'll get more screens. I guess you'll look at them even more. Oh, okay. That wasn't even the main screen you were looking at. Now you're putting them directly over your eyes. Huh. I wonder if I'll still get fed.
Yeah. It's, well, there's not there's species going away. Oh, I got looking into different, there's like different frogs and things that will reanimate, because I was thinking.
What, you mean they come back from the literal dead? Oh, the ones that hearts stop for like 10 minutes to pretend to be dead.
There's ones that will freeze. There's like tadpoles and things like that, and different things that can just freeze and withstand
literal
freezing.
Like 0 degree, or not 0 degree Kelvin, but you know, like temperature freeze or just no movement freeze.
just freeze, like temperature freeze. Like there's things that have been reanimated after 30 years of being frozen.
Cool. But they froze themselves?
Yeah.
How do they freeze themselves? They go to a place that it's cold?
Oh, yeah. They're in some like cave that gets colder than normal, or an avalanche happens. Or
I thought they had like some blue fluid or something that like they have the storage of blue fluid, and then another chemical interacts with it, causing a chain reaction of freeze, and then they wake up 30 years later.
I didn't look much into it, but I figured it would be a fun one for maybe next Halloween. We'll look into different type of zombie-ish and reanimation type behavior. Yeah. And
we did a little bit, but we didn't deep dive. We talked about like the reanimation of corpses or something, but not literal reanimation, just like briefly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's things that, because there's things that's like a part of their natural process where they'll be, I think they start their life like just before winter or something like that, and then they are frozen over. Or there's certain frogs that that's what they do for the winter, is they just freeze. That's how, instead of hibernation, they just completely freeze solid.
Hell yeah.
And then spring rolls around and they just thaw out. They're like, cool, moving around. I'm alive again. So amazing.
Yeah.
And
we have much to learn.
There's because another thing that I want to dive into a little bit, because there's Lazarus species.
Oh yeah, rest in peace, David Bowie.
What's that reference?
Oh, his last music video when he was alive was Lazarus, and he, steps away into the closet of his hospital bed and kind of fades away, and it's a whole thing. But yeah, basically the reference to the Lazarus raised from the dead.
Yeah.
But what were you going to say? What non-David Bowie thing were you going to say?
Well, there's Lazarus taxa, which is species that were thought to be dead. There's like missing fossil record where this thing's extinct because we don't see any more fossils, and we haven't, fossils stopped existing for thousands of years, at least as far as we found. And then one day, like, what the fuck is that thing? And it turns out there's still a species. Ooh. So those are called Lazarus.
So the dodo species. Could still be alive.
Yeah, perhaps.
Yeah.
There's mostly it's like fish, It's like, oh yeah, it was in the ocean. It was just why did you presume it was extinct?
Yeah, we haven't even mapped 20% of there.
Yeah. But then there was like a dog in South America, in Brazil, with webbed feet and stuff that can swim really well.
Frog dogs? Hell yeah.
It looks a little more like a weasel, and they assumed it was extinct. And in fact, that's a fun one, because a guy discovered these bones of this dog thing in a cave and was like, I've found an extinct species. And then the guy found the dogs and was like, I found a new species. And he didn't know, because these dogs don't go to caves. And so he just one just happened to die in something. I don't know the story, but the same guy discovered an extinct species of like a dog type ish thing, and then discovered an alive species of a dog, and didn't connect in his life. Like, he died not ever knowing that he discovered the same. His two big discoveries were the same thing. That's a fun one. And then we've talked about convergent evolution on the show before. Do you remember what that is?
When they're evolving alongside each other because each other?
It's close. Yeah, that would be like like a symbiotic or what would you call that? Brain fart. Convergent is when like sloths or weasel type things where they've evolved there's like some species of weasel in Africa that's very much like almost very indistinguishable from a species in America, but they aren't related in any way. They don't have like a common ancestor. It's just like anywhere where there's like a hole this shape, you can expect something to evolve that sort of looks like this. That's gonna make its way around.
So
really
independent of each other, they arrive at that because the scenarios both led to it, kind of coincidentally, but for reasons.
They look the same, yeah. And then there's ones similar to the Lazarus species. There's species that are that were thought to not be extinct, or thought that like, oh, we found this extinct species, and it was actually just a very similar looking, morphologically similar species that had evolved. And usually science names are pure garbage. But the Lazarus one nailed it.
Yeah.
And this one that I'm describing with the co-emergent really nailed it. And so it's a species that they thought was dead and then thought came back, or was rediscovered and still alive, but actually wasn't. You want to venture a guess, you'll never get it.
Which one?
But it's so much fun.
It's called? Doug Stanhopitis.
No. Oh. You'll never get it. But it's awesome. It's the Elvis taxa.
What is that?
Like, like the idea of Elvis coming back from and like all the different Elvis impersonators and
yeah,
things.
The king ain't dead, Tupac's not dead, Jeffrey Epstein's not dead.
Yeah. So they call those Elvis taxa. There's only like a couple of them that I know of, or as far as I know.
I don't know. But I don't know how I get why Tupac might still be alive, or was 10 years ago or something, but the Elvis still being alive, he looked pretty dead while he was still here. The man invented a peanut butter bacon banana sandwich.
Yeah.
And it's fried too, I think.
He invented that?
I think so. Yeah, towards the end where he like just was really just trying to get the juices going again. Like he had done every possible combination of experiences to get dopamine hits. And it's like, okay, this is really scraping the bottom of the barrel here. Which is it's a good combination. I wouldn't recommend it every day or month, but
no. Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah, and that's at the very least what was in it. I think he was just really piling everything on.
Yeah.
You ever hear the story of Alice Cooper and Elvis, where Elvis was trying to show him a karate move during his karate phases, and he gave him a gun, like a loaded gun, Alice Cooper, to like, okay, now point this gun at me, and I'm going to show you my tricks, how to knock it out. And then as soon as Alice Cooper was holding the gun, there was a devil on his shoulder and an angel on his shoulder, and then the devil saying like, you can be the guy that killed Elvis, and then the angel is saying like, you could be the guy that wounded Elvis. And then before he knew it, like he had done this quick move on him and taken the gun out of his hand, but he was just imbued with so much power in that moment, in true Alice Cooper marketing, branding, memorability, shock fashion.
Didn't Elvis become a sheriff or something like that?
I don't know. Maybe.
Once in a while, they're just like, hey, Shaquille O'Neal, you want to be like a sheriff?
He does have a doctorate. Shaquille O'Neal has a PhD, like humor, one of those. Right? Maybe. Let's ask Dr. Peter McGraw if he sees him in the break room ever. When you're at all those humor academic parties, do you ever see a man around 7'1"?
I just saw Dr. Peter McGraw, or I just talked with him, rather.
How's he doing? Has he been benignly violated any recently?
Well, he actually, oh boy, I wonder if I can say this.
Now you gotta.
He had it was his birthday. He had a really fantastic mushroom trip on his birthday.
Allegedly. And we're not talking about
allegedly.
Dr. Peter McGraw. We're talking about our friend Pete Holmes.
Yeah, it's funny because he's like, and I'm realizing it's all bullshit. Like, yeah, dude.
Oh wait, that was his first psychedelic experience?
No, he's had some mushrooms in the past. I think that's okay to. I think that's okay to say.
Yeah. And we didn't specify what kind of mushrooms. We didn't specify what kind of experience. We didn't specify where. We didn't specify that the words that we're speaking are English. This could be a different language with the mouth sounds having a completely different meaning than what the law is currently interpreting it as. So we're legally sound. I want to go sell Medicare to old people right now.
That would be fun we could start putting a disclaimer at the beginning of episodes. What was that thing you just said?
I said the following sounds are a combination of sounds that may resemble English, but is not English. You're interpreting it as English is on you. We are like legally saying that these are just random mouth noises.
Yeah.
I was thinking with the festival too, we have to have a legal disclaimer. Like, we are not guaranteeing that this does not turn out like Firefest with Ja Rule. We're not saying it will turn out like that, but if it turns out like that.
No. It's first of all, if it turns out like that, it's not going to turn out like that. Yeah. It's not a survival situation. Did you watch that documentary?
I saw clips. I mean, I know about the disaster tents and the cheese sandwiches and everyone canceling.
It wasn't that great, but it was first of all, our tickets, the price that we're going for is probably going to be $222, because what else could they be? And people will be able to bring their own whatever. There will be food trucks there, but we're not going to mess with liquor license. I don't want to do any VIP upgrades other than each of our lunatics gets a yurt. There's only 2 extra yurts after the team, and so our 2 but that's only because it's funny to give our lunatics a yurt, not because it's like a part of a VIP package. And I don't want anything other than like no upgrades, no. So I looked around at none of that. It's just simple. Everyone pays the same. We're going to have a Patreon day beforehand for people that were patrons in the first year of the show. Maybe people that pay a full year ahead of Patreon ahead of time can qualify too.
Boarding group A. Early.
And then I think that I'm testing out the idea, seeing if people are interested, if any artists are interested, which we need to figure out how we're doing that selection and vetting system. But because we want it all to be, we're not going to charge a booth fee, but I don't think that we're going to like pay it like normally an artist would pay a booth fee to be at a festival or whatever to sell there. It's the same price for everyone, but artists will get to arrive even a day before that. So we have an artist day, so we get to meet all of the artists and hang out and potentially like figure out if there's any like last minute materials or decorations or fun things that we can do.
Hell yeah.
Before Patreon day shows up. So I've been talking with everyone about getting that started, and I almost confirmed. So we have one of our Comante de Buffons is Mike Ryan, and and he has a business. I didn't find
not
this out.
Not just any business.
He is on the highest tier on the Shane Mauss page as well, and then also came over on the Mind Under Matter page and became a Buffon. And what happened was when someone was like at the highest tier, I was like, hey, do you want like a big plug? And he was like, yeah, I sell. He's like, I don't know. I have I have this company, boatcarpetoutlet.com. And I'm like, you sell boat carpet? That's amazing. And then I just went on, I don't even know what episode it was. I just went on a like 25-minute rant about boat carpets. And so boat carpets has been a thing for a while. And then we've riffed about boat carpet a bit. It's just one of those things, like working in a crouton factory where people are like, what? And I won't look at a site, nothing, because for the same reason that when I tell people I work in a crouton factory, like, I don't want to tell people like too much of what it was like, because I want people, whatever like elves and things are in people's heads making their croutons and stuff, like I want people to just to imagine.
Yeah, what a fireman like, pull into a big pile of seasoning.
Yeah. That's my relationship with boat carpet. But I had the idea that like, wouldn't it actually, I think it might have even been Michael/Mitch Bridges, who puts on campouts and stuff, that I was hashing some stuff out with, another one of our Patreon honey bears. And we got talking about how we should have a boat carpet presentation with Mike.
I love that. I would bring a notepad and take notes.
No, you would be on stage helping sell the boat carpet.
Oh, even better.
I want to make like an infomercial or something. Like, I want to do something super silly. So Ramin and I both work at night, like super late. It's not unusual for us to be working at like 2-3 in the morning or whatever. And sometimes that's like when my creative juices are going, and I'll pop off some messages or something because I don't want to forget, and I don't trust myself to have the same motivation the next day or whatever. I'm like, whatever, send it. And so it's like 1:30 or 2 in the morning or something like that. Yeah, it's 1:30 in the morning. So 2:30, Mike Ryan's time. Mike Ryan? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that his name?
Oh, yeah.
And
damn, your short-term memory is leaving.
And so it's 2:30 his time. And I write him on Patreon and I go, hey, dude, you got to come to this, because I think I wrote all the bouffons of hoping the bouffons will come, and I hadn't heard back, so I wasn't sure if the message went through. And I was like, hey, dude, you got to come to the festival and give a boat carpet presentation. It's 2:30 in the morning. He's up, he gets this message, and he just writes back, hey, dude, I'm drunk too right now. And I was like, no, I'm actually perfectly sober.
No, this is how my brain actually works.
This is not only works, this is the best it works. Like, this is peak hour for me. This is an idea I'm quite proud of.
Completely lucid.
Like, no, I seriously want you to do a boat carpet presentation.
Man.
So hopefully we're going to do that. The fest is going to be great, because that's the kind of cult that I want to start, is one that's dedicated to just pure silliness. Because whatever our outhouse ritual is, like, at least when we start it, it's not going to be a very serious thing. We can't control where it goes. Nope. In the future. 1,000 years from now, it might be the most sacred place on the entire world, the MUM outhouse or whatever. Who knows what happens through these games of telephones and everyone needing to make everything more than it actually is, and needing these important stories to live. But what we're starting is a weird fucking ritual where we just make our own outhouse at a festival,
amongst many other things.
Amongst many other things. So yeah, I'm excited.
Oh yeah. And just to clarify, still, we never said anything we've ever said is English. Also, I never even said these pixels are
are me. This is a random arrangement of pixels that our pixel randomizer does, which is located on international waters too. So the way the pixels are being generated isn't even coming from America. Yeah. Random pixels from international waters that happens to resemble a human with bunny ears currently. Making sounds that happen to resemble English at some point.
Have you the only thing that I have concerns about at all is not like, because also like the Discord's all set up, people are coming up with ideas and everything. The only thing is like I'm working, I'm already working so hard on everything, and I'm always like, I can't plan on my brain always being as productive as it is right now, you know? So I'm making sure to take small because it also depends on how many people there are there. Like Outhouse, of course we can do that if there's just 100 people. But adding the book fair thing, well, if there's just 100 people, then it's just going to be like 100 of us, like mostly hanging out and doing a lot of the same things. If it's 300 people, then it's like, 20 people can pop over here and listen to this book or what. But I'm not going to like waste a bunch of authors' times if there's not enough people to justify it. So we're sorting it all out, which is the importance of going on Discord. But I bring all that up because I've had the sense that people are kind of just excited right now with spring and launching projects and enthusiastic, and people are motivated and
knock on wood, it sustains.
Yeah,
not the feeling, but the the COVID-y stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm my hair's getting messed up in my hair costume. I can't see. Is that distracting?
What, the hair? I don't see a thing.
Okay,
or I don't see an abnormal thing. Also, distracting is fine.
Yeah. So
we could use some more distractions visually.
I have because this seems to. So again, if this is someone's like if they're new to the show, we talked about this in Halloween, and then the Christmas episodes, and then the St. Patrick's Day episode regarding Lent. But so much of this stuff seems to just be like managing winter, like mostly like, okay, here it goes. Winter time. And then all the way till the end of winter. And then it's like, okay, we're free. And then you have a celebration to be like, and now we can live and have eggs and think about boning like rabbits and both physically, but also giving life to metaphorical ideas and creating like new projects and things like that. It seems like that must have just always been the case, especially with farming and things back when there was that, which there's not farmers really anymore. Isn't that weird that like
you're saying there's not farmers anymore?
My dad was just surrounded by farmers. My grandpa was a farmer. Both of my grandpas did a fair amount of farming. They got into doing other stuff as well. But like my great grandparents were certainly farmers. And I was like, what else would you be? There's like a few other things you can do.
I think there's
and
just
now
this...
if you meet a farmer, like I play pickleball with a farmer. And
a real one?
Wow. A farmer.
What do they farm?
Huh.
They don't just have like 3 lemon trees, right? I mean, I want a pig. Legit. You got to have like an orchard, some corn. That's not true. I mean, you can specialize large things, but, and is this because big farming has taken over, like the Amazon effect, the Walmart effect, like eventually even the multicellular organism effect, eventually the lots of little things become part of the one big evil thing.
Well, do you know how much you ever see one of those big fancy tractors, like modern day tractors?
No, my idea of it is still the 1980 yellow.
You've seen a
John Deere
fancy tractor.
Oh, describe
You
it.
Certainly.
Actually, that's not true. I've seen robot ones. I've seen the AI robot tractors.
Yeah.
I scroll past
like
them
that.
pretty quick, but
Yeah, you've seen it on social media or TV or something like that. I forget that I'm in an area where I drive a lot and see lots of farmland.
no, I see billboards for licorice pizza and lawyer billboards. That's all I'm surrounded by.
Well, one of those like AI-ish tractors, even one that someone else drives. What do you think something like that runs?
You mean money wise, $50,000?
More like $1 million.
$1 million per track?
Yeah.
Damn.
It's like $1 million to
Damn.
own a track. Like if someone owns a tractor, like that's a real flex.
You could buy 1
You don't
million
need
tacos
to-
for that and just sell those. Why even farm? Buy 1 million tacos. And a bag of preservatives in case they go bad.
Just in case the 1 million tacos go bad. Just in case.
Yeah.
I like that you consider yourself the practical one too in our
Wait, when did I ever
our
say that?
business team. You have big dreams of making like a small pipe to put in.
That's true. That's very practical of me. Yeah.
You want a little pipe in every home. So yeah, it's cost prohibitive. Like I remember when I was a kid, I would go to a farm and it would be like an old McDonald farm with an old John Deere tractor that someone could actually buy and fix themselves and whatnot. And you could go and feed pigs and there'd be cows that needed milking and everything. And now it's just like, how do you get into it? What are you just going to buy $1 million tractor and start getting into farming? It's not a thing anymore.
Why can't you do it the old way?
You
just won't produce
do
as
like
fast?
organic and like free range and stuff like that. And then all that too is like, if you think you can just plant crops and just like, oh, we'll just do it naturally and like not worry about insects and things.
Yeah.
Like, you got another thing coming.
That's my problem with the trope of, I mean, I get it. I love, it'd be great if it was all communist and we didn't have to do anything. But when you see the anti-work meme of, God gave us, or not God, but the universe gave us this. We could just be hanging out naked and eating fruit from the trees, but instead capitalism. But it's like, you forget that no, there's still other things that are going to try to eat that fruit. And if we didn't selectively breed it, the fruit wouldn't have as much stuff in it. It'd just be mostly seeds and on and on and on.
You don't go hop in a time machine, go back 100,000 years and find me an edible fucking apple and bring it back to me. You can't. Doesn't exist.
Yeah. Not to say that, it has to be capitalism that would give us that, but just also that it's not as easy as like, it wasn't perfect and then was ruined. It's always been a chaotic struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. Like Bitcoin is somehow going to change all of this. There's a Bitcoin conference going on right now. My brother's so into Bitcoin. He's at it in Miami. And like, I looked at like the lineup and there's not a single panel, like even pretending to be doing anything good for the world. Not a single one. Look it up. There's not a single one.
What's it all about? Just gains?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just like, here's how you can get rich gaming this fucking thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, great. Now we can all be fucking greedy, self-serving people. Wow. Yay. We've really revolutionized everything. Like, how are we going to build streets that way? I don't totally get it.
You see, there won't be streets in the future. There will be a wallet and you'll have a address for it. And then you can make a street there and sell it.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, hopefully someone will explain it to me in some way.
If it's actually decentralized, that's good. But I think the argument is that it's not necessarily decentralized the way it's going now. And there's people fighting for both. It's a mess of a thing. But as we've said before, there's good and bad with it. But I think it'd be cool to have where ownership is verifiable, decentralizedly, not you can't fake it. It's if you own something, an asset digitally or physically, it's like it's on record, barring no EMP or solar flare thing taking down the electrical grid. But
Bitcoin might be all sorts of good, but it's not capitalism. If I looked at that festival and you take the word Bitcoin out of it, everything is the most capitalist shit I've ever seen in my entire life. It's like celebrities and here, get your whale class ticket where they'll drive you around in golf carts and you can get blown by sushi while you do the things. And
I want to get blown by sushi. I'm in now.
That's every bit of it. You could be a whale. You for like
what's a whale? Someone that has a lot who invests
like
$50,000.
$50,000. Yeah, and then they'll introduce you to like network with the other major players and this seems like. And it's fucking in Miami. It's like, okay, this is. Let me guess. Strippers blow too that you just don't put on the fucking thing. Yeah, this is capitalism. Like, sorry, young folk, that you're just finding out now what that's like the epitome of capitalism. So I don't know that it's saving us from it. It's the most ridiculous celebration of capitalism that I've seen in some time, actually. But maybe it will save the world or something or other.
Yeah, it's too big of a thing to describe. Not that I disagree with any of that. That is 100%
it's just like right. Nothing but celebrities and like shitty celebrities too. It's like JP Spears and it's like just awful celebrities. It's just like edgelord celebrities.
With money.
Oh, Jordan Peterson knows finance now too. What doesn't that guy know? I want to go there. I want to be a whale and hear Jordan Peterson weep about the future of fucking finance for $50,000. That's what I want to do because I'm changing the world. Oh my god!
I'd love for you to be wrong. I'd love for it to actually my prediction. If I was to bet money on it, it's going to make a lot of things great, and it's going to introduce a whole new series of problems that we didn't even imagine, and it's going to be the same old combination of utopia dystopia that we've got right now.
Yeah, maybe even more so. Maybe just more extreme.
Yeah, I can get cupcakes delivered to my house within the next 15 minutes, and that driver is going to drive by like 16 tent cities with fentanyl-laced stuff that they didn't want or whatever.
Seems like there's a lot of magical thinking, and this is going back to like why it's important to like when I have friends are like, well, you know. Christianity worked for me or whatever, and like the Jesus thing, like, well, okay, but like, and if it's a metaphor or whatever, and fine, and that's like, but like Lord of the Rings does that for me, or like all these different shows, and it does actually like this isn't. It's just there is value in getting down to the bottom of like what is reality. Like I had a years ago, I used to buy lottery tickets, not a lot, but I'd buy them. And sometimes I would notice I'd buy more lottery tickets when I was the most desperate. That's when I would buy, when I had the least amount of money to
like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory. He spent his last, 5 cents or whatever. And he's been saving it up for his whole life to buy that second chocolate bar. Cause the first one didn't have the ticket in it. But this one's going to have it.
Yeah.
And it did. And he lived happily ever after.
But I remember thinking like, because people will be like, well, you're just paying $1 and you get to imagine, like, I know I'm not going to win, but I get to imagine, like, if I had $10 million and like, well, I thought to myself one day, I'm like, well, I can just imagine having $10 million. Like, I don't need to pay $1.
But the ritual, man,
that.
The ritual. No, my nose.
It's worse than that. It's, oh my God, your nose just died. Will it rise from the dead?
That's why I've got scotch tape right here. Even though the show is nearly over, you think I'm going to miss having a nose the whole episode? Have you heard Seinfeld's speech where he gave that Clio? He accepted he got that Clio award, and he has this whole funny speech about how the ad is always better than the product, and it's always disappointing when it arrives. And but I don't care. In between the commercial and the actual thing getting to my house, I'm happy. Like it's about that.
That's interesting.
And it's like, it's tongue in cheek, kind of like, no, I think buying material stuff is a good way to live your life. And if you don't think that way, you're not buying the right stuff.
Yeah. I don't know, but it was, I guess the point is, like, I eventually realized that it doesn't actually work to just imagine that you have $100 million, that you won $100 million. You have to buy that lottery ticket for it to really like, oh, I could win. You actually check, because a part of your brain does believe that it's real, Yeah. And a part of your brain believing that you're going to win a $200 million lottery is asinine. And it's like, it's no way to like navigate your life. And so I just started thinking, like, well, what other things like that do I do that are just not accurate, that are just stories that
what's another one
I'm telling myself? And I'm gonna skip the one that comes to mind. It actually changed my relationship with sex at the time, because I realized that like I would go to like such extremities of like I would fantasize, like I'd go like, oh, I need to like have a big fantasy right now to like, and then I'll like think of gross things to like, and this is how I'll like modulate my erection, is these wild swings. And then I was like, yeah, exactly. And I'm like, that's not how you do it.
Scarlett Johansson, my great grandma. Damn it, who's another? Megan Fox, my uncle Larry.
Yeah, exactly.
Good timing on the ear flop there.
And then I realized that, like, oh, if you just like actually just be in the moment more and picture reality a little more, and then maybe just improve on that a little bit. Just give yourself like a little, or like wind down your excitement a little bit. That's just part of maturity. If you ask me, is just kind of homing in on a closer model of reality. Because it's like, when you're a kid, you want to attach to that big fantasy story or whatever else, and then when it doesn't happen, it's just the saddest, worst thing in life. Couldn't be worse than this. And then over time, you just learn to tune into like closer and closer models of hope.
I feel like I don't have the attention span for either. I don't think I have the attention span for the big fantasy or the realistic one. Maybe that means I'm in the present moment, but it doesn't feel like it.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just telling myself another story.
Oh, of course. That's all we're ever doing.
Yeah.
But ours is real, though.
Yeah.
Ours is a little bit closer.
There are things that we know that aren't true, for sure. That's
true.
That's the other thing. We can be like, that's not a thing. We can be like, mermaids. Like people used to believe in mermaids.
Would be great to have a mermaid holiday. We've got rabbits, we've got reindeer, we've got a little kid in a diaper with wings. We've got jack-o'-lanterns.
That must have been one of the advantages to traveling is you could come back with tails.
Tall tales.
You could bring, like they would bring the tusk of the narwhal whale,
which is real,
which is real, and then they bring the tusk back and say it was from a unicorn.
But a narwhal is crazier than a unicorn.
Exactly. Why do they have to lie? But they would say it was a unicorn, and then a king or something would be like, "I'm gonna have my finest minds examine this," and then they would look at it and be like, "Yeah, that's a unicorn."
I don't remember the bit, but the comedian John Ramsey, he had a bit about narwhals, and he kind of related it to, because he's Christian, and he kind of related that to like, oh, you're telling me Christianity isn't real? Narwhals are real. He doesn't straight out say it like that. It was about
unicorns. First, and then I actually gave him the narwhal line.
Get out of here!
Within it,
That's coming full circle. Not only did you know the bit, and you knew the bit correctly, you contributed the main element of the bit.
It was all about unicorns, and I was like, there is a unicorn looking thing that actually exists. So like it made sense with this bit. I just looked him up. So I went through, I had this great Too Easy Tuesday. I've only had one bad one since I started doing it. Just horribly unproductive.
Too hard, mate. Too hard.
Too hard, mate.
Too hard Wednesdays.
Too many worries. And
medium difficulty Fridays.
But I had I switched from Android to iPhone, and my old phone had gotten wet last summer, and it just resets on its own. Various things make it reset more often, and apparently trying to transfer data into a new phone is one of those things that makes my old wet damaged phone reset itself. So I couldn't do anything. So I had to start fresh, and I could get all of my contacts, and that was just all of them in a row. I think I talked about this in a bonus episode, but instead I just decided to manually, I tried a bunch of different things before people are like, why didn't you do this and that? I called Verizon, I did a zillion things.
I want to literally tell people that if they have a problem, be like, why didn't you do this and that?
Why didn't you do this and that?
Yeah, I got to go. Just make sure you do this and that.
But I manually went through, and because I've had the phone for 18, 19 years or something like that. I've had the same number, collecting contacts and stuff. I manually went through and manually took the ones that I actually wanted to keep. There's all the ones that's like, who's that person? Oh yeah, that person. Been on the road for 17 years, putting like club owners' names in my phone and stuff. And I reconnected with all these people on Instagram and stuff that I hadn't talked to in a while. And John Ramsey was just a person that I was like, oh, I wonder what he's up to. I wonder if he's doing anything. It didn't look like he was, at least on Instagram anyway.
No, he's a real man. Shows. He defends, underprivileged people in court. He's a lawyer. I think he still does stand-up sets. He has kids. He has adopted kids. He's got he does it all. He's a real, I mean, he would be humble about it. I'd be like, no, I'm far from perfect, but he's actually perfect. He's like the perfect model human of doing the right thing, and is very also smart, funny.
Very funny.
And back in the day, he would not be at open mics, and then like for a year would show up and then arrive with a perfectly formed 10-minute bit with like tags and stuff that he had just rehearsed in front of the mirror. And he was one of those guys that could come up with gold without having to rehearse it. And, we missed him a lot, and it hasn't been the same since he passed away, but luckily he resurrected and he's still here.
So yeah, anyway,
and I erased
that's
his death
memories.
from the history too, to make things not confusing. So you're not going to find any evidence of him ever having passed away.
Well, everybody, this was our, we did it. This is our first Easter episode. We got dressed up. Ramin started falling apart just at the end. Thanks to all of you who have supported us on Patreon, where you can get your own episode for $5. Why not wait 3 weeks or 2 months and then decide to join Patreon? Well, because every week we do another art episode, and that perfect Ramin art piece that you want a whole episode about, dedicated specifically to you.
We say your name.
Someone
we say
else
your
is
handle.
going to. Yeah, someone else is going to pick it before you. The amount of Ramin art you're going to pick from is vanishing by the week. There's a limitless supply, and we're going to keep on having episodes forever. But that perfect piece that meant so much to you, someone else is going to scoop up that episode before you. So get on Patreon today, and you'll get that Discord link to check out the Mind Under Matter Festival. It's September 9th through 11th. Never forget. And if you're on Patreon a day early on the 8th, you can also camp until Monday the 12th. So just so you know, in terms of if you're thinking about checking flights and that sort of thing, but especially if you're on the East Coast, if you're within some reasonable drive, it's you're going to get to bring your own camping gear and everything else. But I also I'm supposed to be hearing back soon about glamping. Have someone setting up glamping for people. So people that do want to pay, we're not making money off of that. That's just going to be a whole separate thing where you can just pay this company to set up glamping for you. If
It's
you're
the
flying
same
in
as
from
the other
somewhere.
thing, but you just get some glitter.
Yeah. So check all that out, and we're hoping to have a wonderful time and meet all of you there. And on Discord I've laid out a whole bunch of plans already, so you can be involved. We get to put the festival together organically together. I said together twice. Together. So
Too
Next
easy
week-
together.
we're talking about we're celebrating Bicycle Day, and
Invented by
we
Albert
are-
Hofmann, the French LSD guy.
Yeah, so we're talking about psychedelics, which I know you guys will be interested in, and this is actually not a bad outfit for that episode as well. I might just wear the same
Why not?
outfit for Bicycle Day. We'll see. And until next time.
Keep on salivating, honeys.
Ding.